The movie begins by showing William Money, a once notorious gunfighter, now leads a quiet life as a widower and father of 2 young children. He had renounced his violent ways and bad habits after marrying, striving to be the man his wife would want him to be. But tragedy struck when his wife succumbed to smallpox in 1878, leaving him to care for their children and manage their modest hog farm. As the year turns to 1880, William finds himself struggling to keep his family afloat. In the town of Big Whiskey, Wyoming, the law is enforced by a ruthless sheriff named Little Bill Daggett, who rules with an iron fist. As tensions simmer in the town, 2 cowboys, Davy and Mike, seek refuge from their duties at a brothel run by the seedy Skinny Dubois. The brothel is a hotbed of vice and temptation, and the 2 men quickly become embroiled in a violent incident when a woman named Delilah makes an offhand remark that angers Mike. In a fit of rage, he viciously attacks her with a knife, leaving her with a permanent scar on her face. Fearing the wrath of the law, Skinny and the brothel's fierce madam, Strawberry Alice, take matters into their own hands and detain the cowboys until Little Bill can arrive. The sheriff, known for his brutal and arbitrary tactics, is quick to take action, unleashing his wrath on the hapless men. The women were furious with Davy and Mike, blaming them for the brutal assault that left Delilah disfigured. They wanted the men to pay with their lives, but Little Bill had a different idea. He didn't believe they were guilty of murder, so he ordered that the men be horsewhipped instead. But not everyone was satisfied with this punishment. Skinny, a business owner in town, was worried about the impact Delilah's disfigurement would have on his business. He convinced Little Bill to let the men off with a fine. They had to give him some of their horses as compensation for the damage done. This decision only added fuel to the fire. The women were outraged that the men were getting off so lightly, and they met in secret to plan their revenge. They pooled their resources and offered a reward to anyone who would kill Davy and Mike. The situation was tense and dangerous, with emotions running high and the threat of violence looming. The scene then shows Money, who struggled to manage his sickly hogs on the farm, as he clumsily chased after them and fell into the mud. He seemed more like a hapless farmer than a notorious gunslinger. Unexpectedly, a young man named the Schofield Kid arrived, seeking Money's assistance. The kid had heard of Money's legendary reputation as a killer and was hoping to recruit him for a job. The task was to track down and kill Davy and Mike, who had disfigured Delilah and were now being hunted by a group of angry women. In exchange for his help, the kid promised to split the reward money with Money. When the Schofield Kid first approached Money for help, Money was quick to turn him down. He had left his violent past behind and had no interest in taking up arms again. Money had been a changed man since marrying his late wife and had sworn off his old ways. But as Money returned to his struggles with the sick hogs, he began to reconsider the kid's offer. As he went through the motions of tending to his farm, his mind kept drifting back to the proposal. Finally, he decided to test his skills with a gun again. Setting up a can on a tree stump, Money aimed and fired his pistol repeatedly, but missed the can with every shot. Money's contemplation about the kid's offer came to an abrupt end when he went back into his house and picked up his shotgun. He went back outside and aimed at the can again. This time, he hit it squarely with the first shot. The sound of the gunshot echoed across the farm, marking the end of Money's peaceful life. Meanwhile, back in Big Whiskey, Davy and Mike made their way to Skinny's place to pay their dues with the horses. The women of the town were waiting for them, seething with anger and resentment. They pelted the men with stones and horse manure as they approached. Mike showed no remorse, but Davy seemed genuinely sorry for what had happened to Delilah. To the women's surprise, Davy made a point of withholding one of the horses from Skinny and offering it to Delilah instead. But this gesture did nothing to appease the women's fury, and they only responded by throwing more manure. The situation in Big Whiskey was rapidly deteriorating, and it was clear that violence was imminent. As Money weighed the risks of taking on the dangerous task of tracking down Davy and Mike, he realized that he needed help. His thoughts turned to his former partner, Ned Logan, who might be able to lend a hand. Money knew he had to act quickly, so he said goodbye to his children and set out to find Ned. However, Money's first challenge was to mount his horse. After several bumbling and unsuccessful attempts, he finally managed to saddle up and ride to Ned's place. When he arrived, he was greeted by Ned's common-law wife, Sally Two Trees. But Sally's expression was anything but welcoming. Her cold, hard stare conveyed her disapproval of whatever plan Money had in mind. Undeterred, Money tried to convince Ned to join him in his mission. But Ned was reluctant, having left his life of crime behind. Despite Money's plea, Ned refused to get involved, citing the dangers involved. As Money rode away, the tension between him and Sally was palpable, and it was clear that she disapproved of Money's plans for revenge. As Money and Logan rode in pursuit of the kid, they soon caught up with him. They discovered that the kid was severely nearsighted and could barely see a target more than 50 yards away. Nonetheless, they continued on their mission, determined to capture Davy and Mike and collect the reward. Meanwhile, a gray-haired Englishman named English Bob arrived in Big Whiskey, also in pursuit of the reward. He was accompanied by his biographer, a man named Beauchamp. The two men had just arrived on a train and were discussing the benefits of monarchy over democracy. Despite recent political upheavals such as the assassination of President Garfield and the Russian Tsar, English Bob and Beauchamp arrive in Big Whiskey. Little Bill catches Bob trying to conceal a gun and beats him mercilessly, throwing him and Beauchamp in jail. There, Little Bill debunks many of the stories Bob has told, and Beauchamp ends up working as Little Bill's biographer instead of Bob's. Finally, Little Bill puts Bob on a train out of town, ending his reign of terror in Big Whiskey. As Money and his companions approach the town, a heavy downpour begins, and they witness English Bob being sent away on a train. Money's health deteriorates as he develops a fever. Upon arriving at the saloon, Ned and the kid head upstairs to meet with the prostitutes, but Money decides to stay downstairs. Little Bill quickly identifies Money as an outsider looking for the reward and beats him up just as he had done to English Bob. Money is thrown out onto the street, and Little Bill sends his deputies to capture Ned and the kid upstairs. After being beaten and thrown out of town, Money's companions Ned and the kid escape through a window and manage to get Money onto his horse, where they ride out of town to safety. Ned and the prostitutes nurse Money back to health until the snow starts falling. By the next scene, the snow has melted, suggesting that some time has passed while Money's companions have been scouting their targets. The next scene shows Davy and a group of cowboys chasing a calf when a shot rings out, hitting Davy's horse, which falls over and breaks the man's leg. Ned fired the shot, but he can't bring himself to finish Davy off. The kid can't see that far, so Money takes over and fires several shots, finally hitting Davy. As Davy lies dying, he complains of thirst. Money tells the other cowboys to give Davy a drink and promises not to shoot. They comply, and Money keeps his word. Ned, having had enough of killing, leaves his companions to return home, but is captured by Little Bill's men. We then see him being interrogated by Little Bill. Money and the kid, with the help of Money's old friend, locate the house where the final cowboy, Mike, is hiding with his protectors. The kid shoots Mike after he exits the outhouse, but he is visibly shaken by the act. In a conversation with Money, he admits that it was his first kill and declares that he doesn't want to become like Money, who has killed many people in his life. Despite his initial reluctance, Money goes ahead to finish the job by killing the other guards. Money offered whiskey to the kid, but it couldn't soothe his pain. Suddenly, a prostitute arrived with a shocking update that Ned was murdered, and she had revealed Money's true identity to the killers. Determined to seek revenge, Money handed over the reward money to the kid, instructing him to give their share to his children and keep the rest to buy some quality eyeglasses. Afterward, Money galloped towards the town, swigging whiskey from a bottle in a haze of rage and grief. When he arrived, he saw that the assassins had displayed Ned's lifeless body in an open casket outside a saloon, accompanied by a sign warning everyone that this is what happens to those who dare to oppose them. Money strides into the saloon, where a throng of townsmen has congregated. He demands to know the owner, and when Skinny steps forward, Money orders everyone close to him to back off and then mercilessly guns him down. Little Bill derides Money for his cowardice, shooting an unarmed man. However, Money counters that he should have armed himself if he was going to decorate his saloon with his friend's lifeless body. He then cautions those near Little Bill to step back. When his shotgun misfires, he chucks it at Little Bill, whips out his pistol, and starts shooting the men trying to draw weapons on him. Despite some of them getting shots off, Money dodges them all, and none of them manages to hit him. After his relentless shooting, Money warns anyone who doesn't wish to end up dead to exit immediately, and those who are able to flee do so in haste. As he strides over to the bar, he helps himself to another swig of whiskey. However, Beauchamp is still trapped beneath a corpse, unable to make his escape. When he spots a rifle lying close by, he asks Beauchamp to give it to him, which he loads in a trice. However, when Beauchamp tries to initiate a conversation about gunfighting, Money's steely response terrifies him, and he flees the scene in terror. Although Little Bill survives Money's rampage, he tries to take a final shot at Money. In response, Money quickly steps on Little Bill's hand, preventing him from firing his weapon. With his rifle aimed at Little Bill, the latter whines that he doesn't deserve this treatment. Unmoved, Money coolly retorts, "Deserves has nothing to do with it." Little Bill then utters his last words that he will see Money in hell, to which Money simply replies yeah, and fires the fatal shot. As he strides towards the saloon's entrance, one of the men he previously wounded groans in agony, and Money puts him out of his misery with a single shot. At the door, he warns all those outside that he's coming out and will not hesitate to kill anyone he spots. Furthermore, he threatens to annihilate the shooter's wife, friends, and burn down their home if anyone dares to fire at him. With all threats silenced, Money walks steadily to his horse, and to his relief, no one dares to shoot at him. Once mounted, he rides past Ned's corpse and warns the townsmen that if they don't bury Ned appropriately, or if they try to hurt any of the prostitutes, he will return and eliminate every man in the town. As the credits start rolling, the audience discovers that Money eventually moved with his children to San Francisco, where he prospered in dry goods. The moral of the story is that even if you try to leave your violent past behind, sometimes you may be forced to use your skills to help others in need.